Hey, what's going on? Welcome in Monday afternoon. And guys, there's already an Avs game in the books, 1:13 p.m. And we are here for a post-game live. Avs win it 3-1 in Buffalo. We're going to unpack everything that we just saw here this morning. How great is that? Not even 1:30 and we're already into the post game. I'm Jesse Montano. I'm going to be joined by Meghan Angley here in just a moment. As always, we want to start by reminding you guys about our great friends over at RefiJet. With RefiJet, you could save around $150 every single month, all with just soft credit pull and zero hassle. RefiJet wants to help you refinance your auto loan. Lower payments, flexible terms, maybe even some cash back in your pocket from your car's equity. RefiJet does the work. You get the savings. Start today at RefiJet.com, the faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley. Avs top the Sabres 3-1 in Buffalo. Meghan, look at this. Little early afternoon post-game show. I love it.
It feels weird.
It does feel weird. It does feel weird. But happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you, Meghan.
Thank you so much.
I know you count down to Canadian Thanksgiving every year. This is your holiday.
Do.
Avs get a big win on a fun day for the NHL where, the schedule is pretty spaced out throughout the entire afternoon. And it was kind of a weird game to get started, but a lot here to unpack. I want to give a big shout out. We got Dan and Ashley back there on the board today, making all this happen. And again, it's been kind of just a fun morning to sit here and watch some Avs and get right into talking about it. 3-1 win over the Sabres. Sabres fans booing their team off the ice. A game that I think started really well for the Sabres, ended with really them doing basically nothing. So kind of just a weird game. Before we get fully into this one, I just want to hear from you. You had you were up in Loveland for the Colorado Eagles season opener series, season opening series, where they picked up a couple of wins, and they're going to have an exciting temporary addition making his way up the hockey highway with Mackenzie Blackwood heading up there for a conditioning stint. But just Meghan, how are you? How was your weekend? How are the Eagles looking?
Yeah, they are looking good. They sweep that opening series, back-to-back wins against the Calgary Wranglers. Two very different games, too. The first night, a little sloppy, but I'd say dominant 7-4 win over Calgary. And the next night, it's 1-0. Sorry. And that only goal comes early in that first period, and Calgary played a much tougher game in that second night. So it was a lot more challenging for the Eagles, and a little bit of discipline an issue that second night. So they spent a lot of time on the kill, but it also showcased how strong that penalty kill is continuing into this year. That first night, a really good power play. And so some instant chemistry between some of the new faces and the old faces. And I think too, like, it's funny to see maybe some of the parallels when you have the power play clicking one night, same personnel into the second night, and it's just not going for them. So I think in looking at the Avs, you see the intent in terms of what they're trying to do and so much of the potential that's there. So I think really this is a strong looking Eagles group between both the special teams that's looking to shake off a little bit of that Russ 5v5. And that was true of either side, like kind of sloppy hockey that first night for both teams. And then a lot of the Eagles figuring out who they are, what their identity is going to be, because I like the chippiness in the first night too. So I think this is going to be an Eagles group that's hard to play against, but has a lot of skill throughout the lineup. Chase Bradley earned a promotion one game to the next just because of how strong he played in that first game. And I thought Taylor McCarr, especially having dealt with injury or, rehabilitating over this summer and not really getting in much preseason action, he looked great too. So I'm super excited about the group, and goaltending's just green for the Eagles right now. Isaac Posh gets his first AHL win and a shutout, which
There
was
you go.
exciting.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of a young goalie tandem without Trent Miner there. So to have Mackenzie Blackwood, this experienced goaltender, NHL goaltender in the fold, just even at practice, I think is going to be so good for the Eagles.
Huge. Yeah. Well, no Eagles pod this week, as a new episode dropped last week. And right now it's going every other week. But we will be up there collecting content, things like that in the lead up for that new show. So make sure you guys are checking out and subscribing to the official Colorado Eagles podcast that lives right here on Guerilla Sports, hosted by our very own Meghan Angley. No one better in the biz. Meghan, let's talk about this one here, because slow, sleepy-ish start for the Avs. Their talent was kind of carrying them through that first, say 30 minutes, where it was kind of the inverse of what we saw a couple nights ago against Dallas, where the Avs were pushing play, controlling zone time, and then Dallas would go the other way and pick up a quick goal. Tonight, it was kind of the opposite, where it felt like Buffalo, for the first 20, 25, 30 minutes, really felt like Buffalo had the edge in play, but they just didn't really have much of an answer for Nathan McKinnon, Marty Netchus, and then a great play from Val Nichushkin to Cale Makar. At a certain point, I felt like it tipped a little bit, and the Avs started pushing play. Broad strokes, your thoughts on tonight?
Are we talking about the
today,
first period or
just
the
kind
whole
of
game?
just on the whole, how it kind of, I saw it as the Avs struggled kind of getting going, but then by the end they were kind of in control. Broad strokes, whole game, just the Avs effort here today.
Yeah, I think the start time was a little bit different, and I think that showed in how the Avs started this game. I think it was just a little bit sloppy, and they allowed Buffalo more opportunity. Credit to the Avs, though, for not letting it completely get out of hand. You know, getting on the board first, I think, was really important for them to come out of that period tied. And then they played a much better game from that point onward. I think it was a little bit sloppy. Like, I think there's still some rust that's being shaken off for the Avs side of it, too. And so just another big Scott Wedgwood game when it's all said and done. Like, you look at the goals saved above expected across the league, and even before this afternoon game, he's one of the best for a positive saves above expected. And even after tonight's game, it's going to be in the positive in terms of some high danger opportunities, especially in that first period. Outchanced high danger opportunities 6-1 from Buffalo. So that settled down, and the Avs flipped that for the rest of this game. But even possession wise, it was highly in favor of Buffalo coming out of that first. So they had a lot of work to do, but I do think they made some of those adjustments and survived little things in the game too, like losing Brock Nelson even just briefly jumbled up the lines, and I think everyone handled it really well.
Yeah, it's fitting that this was a Scott Wedgwood game, given that last year he had to make his Avalanche debut in much less ideal circumstances, but found a way to gut out a win there. And so, to your point, I like the call out of, hey, this is another good Scott Wedgwood game in a game where the Avs needed him. You know, the game a couple nights ago against Dallas, I am so far from saying that that's like, oh, you need better out of Scott. He's been great to start these first, start this season, and just some weird stuff, in that Dallas game as well. But nice to see him have a really nice bounce back effort here when the Avs needed him. Early in this game, the Avs needed him, no doubt about it.
Certainly.
Let's start going through this kind of just period by period. I'm with you. It looked like the start time maybe got things off to a bit of a weird start.
They even looked sleepy in their arrival photos.
Yes.
Josh Manson's got a black eye and his shirt's half tucked in sloppily and half not. Everyone seems to be growing out weird facial hair right now, and I don't know what that's about. And look, it's not my place to weigh in on it, but their arrival photos, they looked kind of rough, and so did I coming into work. Just want to also throw myself under the bus. I still had a curler in my hair when I showed up for this game.
Hey, I actually just really, can someone run up to my desk and get the black package off my desk? Did I hear Ashley say yes? I think that. Thank you. Sorry, I need it for this show.
Perfect.
Well, because you said I was a little bit of a hot mess walking in, and it made me think about when you were walking in. I asked for a curler for my hair and she wouldn't let me have one.
Because I did have an extra.
She did have an extra.
But
and she did offer it to me eventually. She goes, do you want a curler? And I don't know. I think I could. Here's a little.
There's actually already pretty decent volume in the front.
I could get some volume up here for sure.
But anyways, Avs looked a little bit.
They looked like they all showed up with a curler in their hair.
Yeah,
to the rink,
a little hot, messy, expressy.
Yeah. Yet, Meghan, again, just it's one of those when you're playing against a team like Buffalo, when you can decidedly have the skill advantage. That's what happens. The Avs start sleepy. Thank you so much, John. When the Avs start sleepy, sometimes you just have the better players and you're able to jump out to a lead. That was kind of what happened today. And it forced the Sabres, who were, maybe the better team early on, they're kind of back on their heels a little bit. And suddenly they're having to get back into the game. And that's just something you really can't replicate.
Well, I want to say, I don't know if sleepy is the word I'd use. They seemed very awake. They were just making funny decisions. And so I think
it wasn't like they were stuck in mud, moving around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, lots of movement and lots of things that they're trying for, whether in their own end on the breakout or passing plays in the O-zone that just maybe aren't fully connecting. And so that's why, looking at this first goal from Nathan MacKinnon, I think that's a very engaged lineup there on the ice, down to Nathan MacKinnon. He's just so unbelievable sometimes.
Yeah.
There's shades of angry Nate probably on the heels of that Dallas game, just based on how it finished,
For sure.
that I think show up in this play. So I think they're very engaged, very awake, just maybe some silly decisions.
Can I just want to build on that a little bit, because Meghan, we were commenting in the press box on he seemed extra fired up a couple nights ago against Dallas. We don't normally see Nate show a crazy ton of emotion on, scoring goals, things like that. Meghan, he was fired up when they were scoring goals. He was engaged. And so you just said, I wonder if that's, a little bit of a carryover, the way that Nate looked today from the way that things ended a couple nights ago. And you might be onto something there, because he was intense a couple nights ago.
You could see the intensity in how he was playing tonight. I think it's a great thing. Obviously inspired some terrific play. You remove the offsides goal that is taken back in the third, but this would have been a 3-point game from Nathan MacKinnon and Marty Netchis, who that's maybe my biggest takeaway from this game, is the continued chemistry that is building between these two players and how special it is to have such high-skilled players that complement one another in that way. And so that's evident even in this first goal for Nathan MacKinnon. Netchis gains the zone and uses just a little bit of deception, throw on the brakes and leave that puck for MacKinnon. There's a little bit of the deception, a little bit of that with the handling. And MacKinnon reads this perfectly, because I think he comes in a little too hot, but he still has an option available to kind of get that puck back to himself, and turn his back to Byram to protect it, and basically run away with the rest of this play.
The speed of Marty Netchis followed by the speed of Nathan MacKinnon backed everybody up enough that, to your point, gives him that. It wasn't maybe necessarily a perfect pull. I mean, what a play.
Right.
What a high skill.
He knew what
play.
He was doing.
Right. That was very intentional. But like you said, it maybe landed a couple inches behind where he was expecting, but because they had backed the defense up enough, you're totally right. He gave himself ample room to collect that puck and make something out of it. But again, give credit to the Buffalo Sabres. They kind of kept pushing, stayed on top of it, and maybe a little bit of a seeing eye shot. But one of your and I's favorite players in the league, and I'm being dead serious, Tage Thompson.
I love Tage.
Gets a puck through, and credit to Tage, gets that puck through. Good mustard on it. You and I did make the comment during the game, you feel bad for him that he's got to play here.
Yes, because you just look at his individual analytics and everything you can see happening in this game. He's a leader in how he plays on the ice. He is showing up with so much effort, so much skill, and it's just hard to see him play on a team that doesn't get the result when he's trying everything that he possibly can, especially as a leader, to give them a better chance in this game. And so that plays an interesting one where I don't think the Avs are asleep. I think they just kind of get the bad end of losing out on a couple battles there by just a hair. It's not like they're disengaged either, because Manson ultimately wins that puck initially in the corner to get it to Taves, who tries to clear it. And that's where it's kept along the wall. Drury tries to take the lane, but Dahlin gets it ahead to Tuck, who has a good long reach of his own. And then there's Tage Thompson, another really long player that they're just sort of able to manipulate the puck to their own whim at that point, that it's just out of reach of the Avs, who I think otherwise were trying to defend this pretty hard in their own end. And you've just got two great players with the reach advantage in Tuck and Thompson, who just beats Wedgwood from distance, and it's a great shot. So I'm not like coming down too hard on the Avs for the way that play unfolds. I think there's some carryover though, like in how the next period starts. The Avs had trouble getting out of their own end. There's a penalty kill that bleeds over a little bit. So I think that already got them off on the wrong foot. And I'm saying this to build up to the fact that they got themselves out of that mess eventually too. Like I think it was tilted in favor of Buffalo ever so slightly, tied coming out of the first period. And then the way they started the second period, it stayed in favor of Buffalo briefly because they couldn't get out of their own end. But they start to take the game back into their own hands after that point.
Well, and I'm so glad because that was exactly what I wanted to, where I wanted to go next was the tie between, because the Tage Thompson goal comes with under 5 minutes left in the first period. And again, it's a result of not getting the puck out, when you boil it down. And so I'm with you. Like, I'm not coming down super hard on anybody here, but you do not want to make a habit out of turning the puck over at your own blue line. And to your point, they made a short-lived habit out of not being able to get the puck out, turning the puck back over to the Sabres when they were trying to get up and out. And really, the second period got off to a start that was a little worrisome for the Avs. Just in that it was sloppy. It seemed like they weren't thinking. They were just kind of throwing pucks, turning them over. But it took less than 5 minutes. One mistake by the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, it was a great 4 minutes for the Buffalo Sabres to start the second period. And this goes back a little bit to what we talked about with that first Avs goal. The Avs needed one chance, bad turnover, great play from Val Nichushkin to drive to the front of the net, great patience, finds Kel McCarr, puck in the back of the net. And then that felt when the Avs started to turn the tide a little bit. And suddenly Buffalo being back to chasing wasn't quite turning pucks over in the offensive zone, the same clip they were to kick that period off.
No, and that's what good teams need to do. I'd say
shut it down.
As of right now, it's pretty easy for me to say Colorado's the better team. So Buffalo getting off to such a strong start put the Avs behind the 8 ball, and they needed to regain their footing in this game because they just have the experience, the skill, I think, to justify that. Like Devon Taves talked about it. This is a pretty strong core that has a lot of familiarity with each other and should know what they're doing, then that there shouldn't be as much early season rust for this group compared to years past. And that's why I'm saying this is what the Avs needed to do, because it kind of starts with that slashing call on McCarr late in the first that we didn't like, but it's because they're in their own end, they're defending hard. That points to mistakes being made sometimes, and that call doesn't go in Colorado's favor.
Well, and I just want to enter really quick. What I didn't like about it was that was one of those like ticky-tack, the guy's stick was already breaking. Kale goes stick check him. But I want to double down on your point of that's the kind of stuff that happens
when you're hemmed in your own end.
When you're hemmed in your own end. Is like, yeah, is that a ticky-tack little call? But again, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you play too long in your own zone. So I just wanted to interject that.
No. Retweet, and then that second period starts, you're still on the kill a little bit, you're getting stuck in your own end. The guy that I think applies the pressure then to sort of shift that tide is Cale McCarr, because he's creating pressure outside the offensive blue line, it's Justin Danforth who gets that puck to Dahlin, who turns it over to Nichushkin. And that play was made under a little bit of duress because of what McCarr was doing just outside the blue line. That forced them to kind of retreat backwards, reset, and that leads to a mistake being made by a good player in Dahlin. And Nichushkin capitalizes on it, uses his speed and his power to get inside ice. And then what I love is the patience of Nichushkin, forehand, backhand at the net front to find that little seam in the low slot to McCarr opposite him, because Byron is right there defending that lane. It's just such a high skilled play. executed perfectly from Nichushkin to Makar to finish it. And I like that this kind of full circle moment then of where things were kind of going a little bit sideways at the end of that first period, redeemed because of the pressure that Cale Makar created just outside the offensive blue line.
Now, I want to call a couple things out here. One, I want to build on what you're talking about, and it kind of goes without saying here, but you're talking about Cale Makar takes the penalty, but then he's the one that helps turn the tide. Well, then who's the one who the puck, great play by Nichushkin. Cale had to go to the net with his stick down, but it's Cale Makar's goal.
Yes.
And that's just part of what makes him so dynamic.
He's special.
The player that he is. And this is not the only example that we have over the last however many years. He can make the defensive play and then be somehow the first one to the net front to find a loose puck to put into the back of the net. But I also just got to call out, Megan, for as much as there was to like about what the Avs did on that play in particular, what an indictment of Buffalo's defense. Bowen Byram, Rasmus Dahlin, those two players are too good to let a play like this unfold. That's an embarrassing video session for those two, in my opinion. No communication. They both, Rasmus Dahlin kind of half takes Cale Makar on the back check. Bowen Byram commits to nobody. And even in that tight of a space, Val Nichushkin, we're watching kind of like chattering, like he waited too long. For him to have that much time in that little space and to be able to slip that puck through that seam, that's why Buffalo is who Buffalo is. That on paper, again, we were talking about during the game, that D-core should be in the top fourth of the league with the names they've got on that back end. This roster is on paper so much more talented than what you see them do. And I thought that play was a perfect microcosm for, that this is why the Buffalo and I was going to save it for a little bit later, but this is the third game of the season, Megan. Look at these Buffalo Sabres fans. Third game of the season. Bags over the head in the stands. And obviously this is a tongue-in-cheek, gag that we see fans do all the time. But you're 3 games into the year and your fans have already given up on you. And that little play right there from Bowen Byram and former first overall pick Rasmus Dahlin, who's a great defender. That's the type of stuff that goes on in Buffalo. And it's why the fans react like this 3 games into a new season.
I mean, not to dogpile on them, but the next McKinnon goal, it's Owen Power that Nathan McKinnon makes look a little silly. Like Power rotates in to be Nathan McKinnon's assignment, more or less, like the guy defending Nathan McKinnon instead. And McKinnon just very easily steps outside of him and risks the puck on net. Like that has to be a tougher lane to the net. It shouldn't be as easy as Nathan McKinnon just taking one step outside you for that puck to get by.
And then, as much as I was just talking about Tage Thompson a minute ago, how much I like him, the goal that ends up getting called back, I'm not trying to jump the gun here. Nathan McKinnon just straight out muscles 6'7" Tage Thompson. It's like, oh my gosh. It's just crazy to me. And I saw that picture after we had started the show that, again, it's a joke and all that stuff, but the fact that Buffalo Sabres fans this close to the start of a new season are already leaning into that, got to put a bag over your head to go support the Sabres. You see reasons why in this game.
Yeah, because honestly, the way this game started for Buffalo, they were defending a lot harder because at some point you saw Nathan McKinnon, Marty Netsch doing the same things, copy pasted and getting away with it. Like it wasn't always obviously translating to a goal, but I saw the same cross ice pass through the slot. I saw the same kind of leaving the pucks for one another, either high in the zone. That's what happens on that second Nathan McKinnon goal. It's so similar to what they did on the first one, just a little bit different with more time to leave the puck for McKinnon on the second one. And so it's almost insulting to the Sabres that these players are able to repeat some of the same things in the same game and get away with it.
This is a great comment here from Alyssa. When my team wins a game and my takeaway is how bad I feel for the other team, that's got to say something.
Yeah, I want to love Buffalo so hard.
I feel for the fan base there. It's a great hockey fan base that I've had nothing to cheer about for a while. Megan, I saw a comment come here through the chat, and it was in this second period after the Avs had taken their 2-1 lead, and it was the hit on Gavin Brindley. We've talked a lot about Gavin Brindley, a lot of the great stuff he's done. There was a highlight today. Gotta keep your head up. You gotta keep your head up.
First, yeah. There's like a mom inside of me that is so worried about all hockey players all the time. And so it does something like my stomach does flips when I see that. And so what I'm about to say is not to like endorse this, but he stays out on the ice after this hit, springs back up to ensure that he can skate the puck deep into the offensive zone to get fresh bodies on the ice. So we briefly see him out there with Nathan MacKinnon. And all of that on the heels of just getting his world rocked just seconds before. He still has that attention to detail of ensuring that puck's deep in the ozone before that line change fully happens to make sure that it happens safely. And again, I don't necessarily want guys who've just
had their clock cleaned.
To stay out on the ice unnecessarily.
To prove that they're tough.
Prove that they're tough. I don't know that that's what that was. I think he was just fine. I think he's just kind of made of, I don't know, rubber. And he's got that Andrew Cogliano in him.
I was just about to say the new Andrew Cogliano.
So he was fine, and I'm glad, but he does need to keep his head up.
It was one of those plays where, again, high skill guy who's been the high skill guy his whole career. Things happen a half second quicker. I mean, he ran into a brick wall and never saw it coming. There's been so much that Gavin Brindley's done that we've really liked here through 3 games. But that was one you kind of, I don't even know if you meant, it was just instinctual. When they showed the replay, you went, keep your head up, like buried in the ice. And for a guy that's his size, he's got to be doing everything. Even if he's made of rubber, he's got to be doing everything he can to make sure he's not getting...
Exactly, because I think this is just the way that he plays. So there's a lot of contact like that in any given game that it's just so important for him. And I think he's usually better about being positionally sound to make sure that he's safe, because he's constantly in some pretty dangerous situations of his own volition. And it's because he knows he's got the speed to win the race for the puck, but there's some contact coming his way that's going to follow. And so he just needs to be positionally aware at all times. Because of the size difference, especially a giant player like that, there's going to be levels at play that even if his head is up, it still poses a risk.
Can we throw that last comment into the chat? I don't mean to be piling on the Sabres, but I think this is an interesting comment. The Riot and Respect saw you live and just popped in. The fans of Buffalo do not deserve this year after year. We fans around the league are quite fed up as well seeing this. It's been long enough. Again, I don't mean to go back to pile on the Sabres, but Megan, I actually agree with this sentiment here of like, it's getting to the point even around the league where it's like, yo, you got to do something here. Like they're the punching bag year after year after year after year in a great hockey market. I completely agree. The Sabres fans don't deserve that. And someone somewhere has to step in at some point and be like, enough is enough. I don't know if that's at the ownership level, the management level, at the player level. Someone's got to do something here and just say that this has gone on long enough. It's becoming embarrassing, to the league.
Well, and so where I lose some of my defense of them is they lose these high-end players year after year. There's obviously a retention issue, right? I don't think the front office has done enough to replace some of those holes that have been created when those guys have moved on. And so what's a bummer too, though, is like the injury to Josh Norris is just totally a freak thing that just sucks. Like they can't catch a break. I mean, UPL being hurt doesn't help things either. Kessling, like a guy they trade for, this summer, also hurt. They have so many good defensemen, but another good defenseman who brings something different than what's currently represented in the D-Corps, Matthias Samuelsson, also hurt a lot. Like right now, I think it's just day-to-day, but he missed so much time last season. They can't catch a break. They need roster management that's like going to bolster them in such an undeniable, solid way so that you're not wondering if Tuck is going to extend because there's something to build for that's worth staying for. And anyways, Tage Thompson's too sick also to
Yeah.
be not have the right supporting cast around him. It's a bummer.
Well, and like you have to give up on JJ Peterka because it's obvious that he doesn't want to be there anymore. And so they have to move him. And it's just, was not very long ago, Megan, that they had a top line of Ryan O'Reilly, Jack Eichel, and Sam Reinhart. All three guys have gone on to win Stanley Cups with three separate organizations. Like,
yeah,
there's something wrong there. There's something wrong. There's something in the water.
They lose Casey Middlestat. They lose Jeff Skinner. I think this is lesser, but like Kyle Okposo, their captain, goes on to win a cup somewhere else. It hasn't been replaced. It hasn't been replenished. The loss started with O'Reilly, Eichel, and it just continued ever since then. Now Peterka also.
Yeah. I just wanted to come back because Riot and Respect, look, they got a Devils icon. And the fact that like there's other fans from around the league who are just like, yeah, I'm sick of watching the Buffalo Sabres doing this. I feel the same way. And I hope for that fan base, something can be figured out and they can get that team, to your point, Megan, on the right track. They're not even like trending in any kind of direction.
And they were, though. Like, you go back 2 seasons and there was hope.
And I don't know. Second period, Avs regain the lead, getting ourselves back on track here. Sorry.
Sorry for the Buffalo Sabres rant.
Yeah. Hey, you know who should be apologizing? The Buffalo Sabres. Sorry you guys are having to rant about us for a 15th straight year. Nathan MacKinnon, Marty Necas. We saw the glimpses of it last year at times where it's like, hey, these two look like they maybe got a bit of an electric connection here between them. Megan, oh my gosh. They might need to get this contract signed with Marty Necas now because the way that him and Nathan MacKinnon are playing off of each other, looking good.
It looks really good. And I don't want to be foolish in hoping that could be leverage too, right? Like, Marty Necas, aren't you having fun playing with Nathan MacKinnon?
I don't think that's foolish.
Don't you want to keep doing that? And it's not, I hate when people maybe make that into like any success Mikko Rantanen had is because of Nathan MacKinnon. And so any success that Marty Necas is having is solely because of Nathan MacKinnon. I think that Nathan MacKinnon certainly helps, but to be able to play off of one another and anticipate where the other is going to be, because sometimes it's near impossible places that they're finding each other from. And so it's just such a high skill play to pull off, and for them to be able to read one another is unique and it's special to them. And I hope Marty Necas can appreciate that and see the value of getting some more of that.
Well, and so, we've talked about, so many players just over history, Sidney Crosby made that guy a lot of money. Connor McDavid made Zach Cassian a lot of money. There's those guys all the time. And as you and I talked about last year, did Mikko Rantanen benefit from playing with Nathan MacKinnon? Of course. Did Nathan MacKinnon benefit from playing with Mikko Rantanen? Absolutely. And I think you have that here again. As we're, I think it's different though, as we're Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen were both really good players that played really well off each other, but they were different types of players, right? Marty Necas and Nathan MacKinnon feel so complementary to each other and that they think things the same way. You have a guy who not only can keep up with Nathan MacKinnon in terms of, playing on a line with him, but plays the game maybe as fast as Nathan MacKinnon does. And, again, you have on that first goal, Marty Necas using his speed to back guys off. And then a second wave of speed coming through with Nathan MacKinnon. They both like to shoot the puck. They both, have great hands in tight hockey in a phone booth, type players that just seeing the way that everything you just talked about, knowing where each other is, anticipating, he's probably going to want to go here. You even have, they both do they can push pucks to open areas and skate and go find them. And I think because they both like to play that way, they know how to play off of that. And it's really fun. And they have been dynamic through these first couple games. And it's just, I think if you can see a version of this all season, I think these two might fit with each other better than maybe we even thought last year.
Yeah, especially seeing such a consistent look at it now. There's a commitment to giving these two a look. And I think it is reflected on the power play and what they're trying to do there as well. And so I love Nathan MacKinnon's post-game comments about, this is a really good power play. And I see, because the intent behind some of what they're doing, I think, is going to take, a few failed attempts, but with every failed attempt, they get closer to the right execution. And that's scary, because in seeing some of what they're trying for, I don't know how you defend against some of these passing plays that they're coming up with, because they're impossible seams and they're leaving the puck for each other places that only they have the speed to get to. And so it's scary to imagine the possibilities then between these two players who are already off to such a strong start, even with some of those failed passing plays. So long as they continue to lean into it and don't grow stagnant, I think, too, this addresses the predictability component that people sometimes worried with the Avs top unit in general. I think that Marty Netschus brings something so different from what we've seen before, and Nathan MacKinnon's loving that.
Well, and he's even different from Mikko. Yeah, go ahead and put that one up. Now, here's the thing that I worry about Mikko versus Marty. So I agree with this comment here. It says, it's from Ryan B. I'm more excited about Netschus than I was disappointed about Mikko. Rantanen would disappear a lot, then fall down. Marty is always noticeable. I was just talking about this with Dan a couple nights ago. Here's what remains to be seen with Marty Netschus. Mikko Rantanen would go through stretches where his play would be kind of quiet, wasn't super noticeable, maybe even make some mistakes. But he produced at such a consistent clip. Did not matter if he had a bad game, a good game, a great game. He found a way to get on the score sheet. He could have a bad week. He'd pick up goals in 2 out of 3 games that week. Mikko Rantanen, you could say what you want about him. You can feel how you want about him. His production career arc says he just found a way to consistently be involved on the score sheet. Now, can Marty Netschus continue to replicate that? If he continues to be, more noticeable, more consistently, and have a positive impact in games, maybe away from the score sheet more regularly, then I think you can live with it. But that is one thing that you just can never take away from Mikko Rantanen. Good, bad, or ugly game, he found a way to produce, and that was true in the regular season, in the playoffs, in the Western Conference Finals, in the Stanley Cup Final. It did not matter. Mikko Rantanen found a way to be involved when he was with the Avs. So can Marty Netschus replicate that productive consistency? And if he can't quite do it in the same rate, one, can he pick up points in bunches to match the point totals? But can he maybe be more noticeable and consistent in his play away from the score sheet every night? I think that would also be something that would be welcomed by Jared Bednar and the Avs.
Well, and so Jared Bednar early in the year said something about Marty Netschus playing with a little more physicality. And I got the sense that was messaging he received in these past playoffs that he was trying to apply, and the intent was good, but the execution wasn't right because it was maybe a bit new for him. And I think this is true of some players who come to Colorado, and it's a high buy-in for every player, no matter what your role is in the lineup. And you'll get exposed if you are just even checking out a little early in shifts, not taking the extra strides in and out of battles. You'll be exposed for that pretty quickly. All that to say, I think Marty Netschus was trying to do the right things in the playoffs, and this is going to be something I think that needs to unfold over the span of the regular season. I think he needs to understand what is the most efficient way to be physical, and make those good decisions then away from the puck. And I don't necessarily think it's a weakness of his game either. I just think it has never been asked of him to have it as a strength. And so I think that's going to take some growing pains for Marty Netschus. I think he's off to a better start this year. And it's because of the stagnancy thing too. Like, this was in the playoffs specifically, we only really have this sample size in Colorado from this frustrating Dallas series where everyone's production was a little stagnant outside of like McKinnon and Logan O'Connor, weirdly. And so it's going to be frustrating, but it's also too limited a sample size. And that's where it is going to be important then over the span of the regular season, because there would be points where maybe a McKinnon was out of the lineup, Makar was out of the lineup, and Mikko Rantanen carried. And so I don't want that to be the case at any point this season where it's needed that Marty Necas carries because somebody's out of the lineup. But that pressure of needing to produce with some consistency and timeliness too, like especially in a Stanley Cup playoff series, like the timeliness is important. So I'm actually even not looking so much at how much every single game, like you said, if it comes in bunches and it kind of picks up some of that slack, I'm looking at timeliness with Marty Necas. And so over the span of the regular season, that's a little bit more open-ended, but I want to see him start to master that, then master the play away from the puck, master how to utilize some of his physicality in a way that makes sense for his game, that doesn't deviate from it too much too, and then just find a way to produce when the game demands it most. And that's kind of obvious. Like that's every hockey player.
But Megan, it's I mean, how much conversation is there about Austin Matthews doing exactly not that in the playoffs? You know, so like I think that's a great thing to call out of, because again, that's something else that Mikko Rantanen had a track record of doing in Colorado, scoring a big goal in a big moment.
That you would kind of lose sight of, oh, he was a little quiet these last few games, because that would become true at points.
100%.
But he always made up for it.
Always made up for it in that big moment. Can Marty Necas, again, do a version of that? Can Marty Necas bring a version of that? If you can find a way to replicate what Mikko Rantanen gave you in terms of production, and get Marty Necas signed somewhere between, it's not going to be 9.5. I'm just using it as the start for my range. Somewhere between 9.5 and 11. 10.5, really.
Right.
If you can get him somewhere in that range, that's a great bit of business from Chris McFarland to turn Mikko Rantanen into Marty Necas, who can, you know, in this hypothetical, replicate that production. And then it also gave you the flexibility, or gives you the flexibility to add further down your lineup and make you a deeper team. It ends up bearing out exactly how the Avs would hope it would. And you've got to be really encouraged that you're at least on a version of that track after these first 3 games. But these little things, including what you just said, being clutch at the right moments, are still what Marty Necas needs to do to replicate what the Avs had in Mikko Rantanen, who was an elite winger that is no longer on the team.
Well, and I think it's important to move away from the exact model of what Mikko Rantanen was, because Marty Necas is just different. But I'd like to see then the ways in which Marty Necas is different be sort of this new model then for what he needs to be. So the production does need to come in similarly, but maybe some of his strength of speed and skating is giving them more opportunities to gain the zone outside of McKinnon. That's setting his teammates up for success too. And so the production is distributed, maybe not just in his hands specifically. Maybe he's not the goal scorer, but he's helped setting his teammates up, that the overall goal share is still comparable to what was being made up of Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon. And so I think that in essence, Marty Necas can help replace that in other ways. Maybe it's not singularly coming off his stick, but maybe the passing play, or maybe the zone entry is coming from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And point being, you got to be encouraged by the way this is all started.
Because I do want to see him shoot more too. Like, as I say it, I think his goal scoring potential is high.
I mean, I said it last week, Megan. I think he's going to hit 50 this year, just the way that we're seeing him shooting. And he almost got another one today, but it was called back on the offside in the third period. Megan, from this game, there's a couple other things I want to get into here. But from this game in particular, second period ended. Then, other than the one offside goal that the Avs had called back, pretty. The Avs kind of just came out, closed things out, didn't give the Sabres much. Buffalo fans were booing because Buffalo didn't really have a whole lot of options on the ice. And that was kind of it for this one. The Avs really kind of coasted to that 3-1 win, closing things out in the third.
They kept Buffalo to just 4 shots in the third period. So I think, they pretty solidly flipped this game on its head in the second period. It was still a bit closer. I think by the third period, though, this was Colorado's game pretty decidedly.
And it felt like the Avs had, and again, this is what good championship teams do. It felt like the Avs had kind of decided in between that second and third, like, yep, this game's over. Not letting them back in. We're not really going to give them much.
And that's while losing their second line center and experiencing just a little bit of jumbled lines throughout the lineup until he returns.
So let's go to Mike Peterson's comment here. What do you make of the slow start for the second line after having a really good showing against Dallas last year? Thought they would hit the ground running this season. Definitely something of note. They do pick up as a line on the ice. They contribute to their first goal of the season today. So good to see them get on the action. It is that Val Nichushkin steal and then setting up Cale Makar. I'm not concerned about it. There's 3 players who, only played together through those 5 games last year. Gabe Landeskog's first training camp and, start to the regular season. I'm not too concerned about it. I still think that's a line that I really like the makeup of it. And you've got offense coming from other areas. Even in your loss, you scored 4 goals. So I'm just not overly worried about it yet. I like the makeup of that line. We've seen them play well together. I guess where are you at? Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin.
I think they had a good game against LA to start the year, and then Utah was not so great. And that was kind of true of the top 6 on the whole.
Yeah.
And so moving forward, then I didn't get to watch all of the Dallas game to really key in on that line specifically. Tonight, kind of mixed results too, that I think it's just too little sample size to tell, kind of like what I was just saying with Marty Netchus and his playoff performance.
Yeah.
But I saw enough of it that I liked quickly into the Dallas series, where I just think playoff hockey is kind of its own breed. So that's more encouraging to me than a couple up and down games here at the start of the year. Because I'm still very hopeful that they can recreate some of that instant success that they were having as a line from the playoffs. And I've seen it in that LA game to start the year. So I'm not going to abandon the potential for that line. I think it just needs a little bit more time and more consistent reps playing with one another for us to see its full potential. But it's something worth keeping an eye on for sure, just because of how we've seen how good they can be. So I just want to see them return to some of that.
Yep. Consistency in the lines is my that's my big thing for this season. All right. I've got a couple quick little rapid fire, either players or topics. I just want to get to really fast. Anything else from this game in particular? No? All right. Perfect. We talked a little bit about Gavin Brindley earlier, needing to keep his head up. Just where are you at with him through 4 games?
I mean, he continues to be in on the action in a good way. I see so many offensive plays, not necessarily just come off his stick, but just come off his efforts, that he offers something a little bit different. Like we do still need to see Bardakov at some point. We talked about that earlier. And it shouldn't, like Gavin Brindley playing shouldn't come at the expense of Bardakov, even though I think what Brindley's doing is very intriguing and has earned him, in my opinion, a closer, longer, extended look. It's tough because they have the most flexibility with him.
Right.
But so far, in the opportunity he's been given, he's done a lot of good with it. So it's like, yeah, I get that you have the flexibility with him, but he's also kind of impressed the most. I put in quotes because we haven't seen Bardakov, so he hasn't been given that opportunity.
We both really liked in camp.
For different reasons, and that's what I think will be interesting is I do think Gavin Brindley brings something different from some of the other bottom 6 players, even what I think Bardakov can bring. And so I almost not worry, that's dramatic, but I just wonder what the bottom 6 would look like without some of the offensive instinct of Brindley in it. Does it become maybe a little bit of a black hole? And that's dramatic, but I do think he's also been an interesting option that Jared Bednar can kind of promote late in games when they're making some kind of a push, just because his toolkit is not just the offensive instinct and the effort, but the speed at which he plays with too, can just be a little tool to extend possession late in a game. And so anyways, I think it's intriguing that I do want to see Bardakov, but I still want to see Brindley, and that's where I'm at with it.
I'm going to circle back to that sentiment in just a minute. Third line, Olofsson, Colton, Drury. I think they've started to settle in, and I think you're starting to see that identity of that line start to bear itself out a bit. We were able to talk to Victor Olofsson a couple days ago, saying like that he wants to match the edge and the intensity that those two guys play with, but also be able to be that skill that shines through. We talked all camp about like we want to see this line get together. Can Jack Drury be the 3C? I think early returns through 4 games are encouraging.
I think so too. Like, I don't think tonight was my favorite night from them. It was not bad by any means. And I loved the pass from Olofsson to Brindley for his first NHL goal. That was such a high skill play. So I think that's where I'm at with Olofsson individually too, as some of the high skill plays he's made that have translated to direct goals are super exciting. And I do agree. I think that line is settling in, and I've felt for a little while now that Jack Drury is a 3C. It's totally fine, you guys. And I still feel that way. So I'm excited to see them get the consistent reps, because I think that's something that Ross Colton has sorely needed. And I think that's going to get exciting here pretty soon. Similarly, I think Val Nichushkin's game's like just ramping up as well. And so in addition to what he does tonight, capitalizing on the turnover, I'm looking to that second line to kind of have a breakout game too, just because of what Nichushkin adds there and just some of that intensity I've seen behind how he's been playing the last couple of games. So I'm excited to keep an eye on the middle six generally right now.
And I know this was your first full game viewing of Ilya Solovyov. Was finally able to ask Mark how to pronounce that correctly, and pretty close to what you had originally gone with, Megan. I loved his game 2 nights ago against Dallas. He wasn't maybe quite as noticeable to me today, but I know that you would at least called out at least one, if not 2 plays that he made that you really liked. Good skater, seems to be, in the right position. And he's done a good job of getting in lanes, taking away passing options, taking away shooting options. And then the first 2 plays that jumped out to me a couple nights ago were just really smart pinches in the offensive zone to keep possession and plays alive. Getting your first full viewing today, combined with what I know you watched from a couple nights ago. What have you thought on the Avs' newest lefty?
I like him a lot. It feels better than advertised, because I think the information out there on him was a little bit mixed, kind of based off potential in a lot of ways. And there was talk around his skating improving over this offseason. And so I don't know where his skating was at before this season, but the strength of his skating is what separates him from other depth options they've had at the bottom of their D-core. And that's not to demerit what I saw from him. I think, seeing he registers 3 shots on net. One of them you had just gotten up was this drive deep into the zone to the circle to get the puck on net. And he threw on his speed to get there. And it was really impressive the way that he moves for such a big player. I don't think, the physicality popped off the page either way, but he gets a couple of hits. He's a big guy. He's not easily taken down. And so I think there's just more there than I was expecting. I'm excited to see more of him past this point. And I think the injury to Girard's super unfortunate. I hate that this extended viewing of him is afforded because of that. But I'm excited to see him get in a few more games, because I think there's a lot more there than I was expecting.
So I told you that I was going to come back to Bardakov and Brindley, because if you're not going to take Brindley out of the lineup, and especially that, this also becomes true when OC gets back. You're going to have decisions to make. And I haven't seen him in the chat here, but I got to give a big shout out to our guy Vaguely Sober. He's been threatening me with this for months, and he finally pulled the trigger.
Ooh, I know what this is. Ooh.
And I'm wondering, Megan.
Oh, it all comes back.
I was sent a Team Kivy hoodie.
Oh my
by our guy Vaguely Sober.
It's beautiful.
So huge shout out to Vaguely.
I love it.
For sending this, but and I mean, like that's like a legit Adidas. Feel that. I mean, like that's it's like,
oh my gosh, it's
printed
gorgeous.
on there. So big shout out to Vaguely. I will be wearing this on the next pod. That
no,
we
you
do.
didn't get to practice.
So Megan, I'm Team Kivy now.
Are you?
According to the hoodie.
Okay.
Where are you at with this guy?
Ugh.
Because again, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that. This is the guy that if you're going to play Brindley and Bardakov is probably coming out of the lineup. So clearly, according to my hoodie, I don't want that. Well, but I just want to know where you're at.
It does feel like a talking stick of some kind, but when you're holding it, you can't say anything mean about him.
Right. So do you want this right now or do you
want
to
hold it? Because I don't have anything mean to say about Kivy.
Yes, there you go.
I actually don't think it's wise to play Bardakov and Brindley at the same time, which stinks. But it's because they're down OC and they need the penalty kill help with Kivy. With my guy Kivy. And so I just think it'd be irresponsible to have two green penalty killers, especially in Brindley, who didn't kill penalties in the American League last year. You just really can't trust that. It's going to lean on top guys a little more than you really need to. And all in the favor of playing some of these young kids at the same time. Whereas I think you can just avoid that. And maybe Brindley comes out a game and you get a look at Bardakov. But it becomes tough because I think Kivy hasn't done anything wrong through this point. He just hasn't been as visible as, say, a Brindley. And that's where I go back to what he offers is different because being visible.
This comment right here
isn't the end all be all. Kivy has earned his right to keep playing based on what he's asked to do. So he's a role player. He's a penalty kill specialist. And I don't say that lightly. He is a really big help on the kill. He understands it.
Made a great play today on the kill.
And so those reps too, I just don't really trust any of the young guys just slotting in to be as effective as Kivy is. So back to my point, he hasn't done anything wrong. His toolkit isn't Brindley's, and so that's also why he hasn't done any Gavin Brindley things. But he did have 16 goals last year, so I'd still like to see some of that pop shine through. It's tough. So I'm in the room where you juggle Bardakov and Brindley's nights. We need to see Bardakov soon. And then from there, I don't know what happens, right? Then you get Bardakov in a couple, put Brindley back in one, see how he responds after a little bit of time off, maybe. Or maybe he just goes to the Eagles because they can afford to do that.
Right.
And it just stinks because he's had such a great showing in these games. And, if the production wanes from the bottom six, that's a quick call up. And he should be highly motivated to make the most of the opportunity. So anyways, Kivy, you haven't done anything wrong. I'd like to see you do some special 16 goal Kivy things.
I've got some positive stuff to say about Kivy. I'll take the talking hoodie.
The talking Kivy.
Well, so Megan, we in the preseason, you and I both sat on this show and said, I think from if you're purely talking on ice, what they've done. I know it's so good. So good. If you're purely talking what they've done on the ice, you and I were both saying it might be Brindley and Bardakov for opening night over Kivy Ranta.
Yeah.
He just, again, preseason hadn't really popped.
We said that. We did.
And I've watched the first 4 regular season games, and it's been reminiscent of last year and the playoffs the season before, not the regular season 2 seasons ago when Yoel Kiviranta really struggled in Colorado in this system. I thought he's reliable. He just goes out there and does what Jared Bednar asks him to do. And he makes smart plays. Now, again, and I'm going to say this while I'm still holding the hoodie because this isn't a bad thing. The indictment on him is it's nothing special, but it's just consistent. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah.
He's
not a liability.
Right.
Which, as much as I've loved Brindley, sometimes the way that he plays opens up vulnerabilities. And Brindley has been a liability, at some points. I think he's made up for it in what he's added, but Kivy is not a liability.
Yep.
And that is a strength of his.
So I do ultimately think that when this team gets back to full health, Team Kivy might be hanging out in the press box. But as you and I have said consistently, if this is your guy, if this is your 13th forward, when healthy, you are in excellent shape, because I do think that through 4 games, he has shown I'm a consistent role player that's going to do what I'm asked.
I can't stop staring at him, and it's kind of freaking me out.
So I'll be honest, Vaguely sent me the mock-up of it, and it looked really small. Like, I thought the graphic was going to be
it's kind of like he's here
big.
with us.
Right. I almost feel like we need to get just like a
little mannequin or something.
Yes, a mannequin or something like that, where he can just kind of hang out. Yeah, right, like right here, because that's
the newest member of Guerilla Sports Off Ice.
Full-size photo, no doubt about it. There we go. Massive shout out to our guy Vaguely.
I love him.
Oh my gosh, we love you Vaguely, and thank you. Yes, like I said, this will be being worn on the next show.
I can't wait for us to put him on the top of the pyramid for some reason this year. We're gonna have a custom sweatshirt that we can wear when we do it.
Seriously. Megan, do you got anything else for today, or is this how we should leave it?
That's how we should leave it. Now, I think it'll be funny because we've unintentionally matched a lot this year. If I show up with a Team Kivy sweatshirt, that's how you know.
That's how you know that
something suspicious is afoot.
Right. Because I have to point out, you're wearing like a lighter colored shawl, but that is you have a white shirt on underneath. Yes, I do.
That. We are matching again.
People in the press room were like, "Oh, you guys are coordinating it." We're like, I understand why you would think that. Yeah. But we aren't, and it's getting pretty crazy. Someone go back and watch the last month and a half worth of shows. Tell us how many times Megan and I are wearing the same color shirt or top, because it's frequent.
It is.
It's frequent. And hey, I don't hate it. It's fine. Oh, Megan hates it. Megan hates the colors that I wear.
No, sorry. You want to know what my brain was doing?
Yes.
I was thinking about Solovyov, I was thinking about Malinsky, and I was thinking about Girard. And it's like, what's going to happen when Girard is healthy again? I still don't know. And that was the doom and the thinking that was on my face.
I was gonna ask you about Malinsky, but I figured we've talked a lot about him, and I think he's continued to show well.
I know, like, analytically, the Solovyov Malinsky numbers out of tonight aren't super great, but I thought they both looked good. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
what do I know? But I genuinely did think they looked good, and they look good differently too. I think they're very different players. But anyways, I'll wait until I see a little bit more and have more information before I panic unnecessarily.
Gerard's week to week, so this also isn't like an immediate.
No, but I hate that.
Oh,
I hate that he's week to week. I hate that that's the room that we're in, and so that's the doom feast that's happening there too. Is as much as I like getting to see Solovyov, because I was like, he's 25 years old, Jared. You can't just sit a 25-year-old. He's like, he has to earn it.
I gotta say though, I did love that.
Me too.
I loved that response from Jared.
Me too.
That's his problem, not mine.
Yes. And I was just like, all right, but from like an asset management perspective, we really shouldn't be claiming 25-year-olds we don't plan on playing. Right. But anyways, on one hand, that's not a problem anymore. He's playing for the foreseeable future. And I just hate the reason why Gerard being out. So anyway, sorry for my last minute disassociating, thinking about the decor.
A Kivy hoodie shows up and Megan gets sad. I didn't know what was going on.
No, I just start panicking about other things. You know what I don't worry about? Scott Wedgwood. That's a really nice problem to not have.
Yeah. Well, and what a guy too.
Yeah.
What a guy. That's gonna do it, everybody. I'm Jesse. She's Meghan Angley. This is Yoel Kiviranta. We got Dan, we got Ashley back there. I'm Jesse Montano. That'll be it. We got content coming your guys' way all week as the Avs have a couple days off here, Megan, before taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets.
My dark horse team.
Oh yeah, that's right. Megan's dark horse. That'll do it. She's Megan. I'm Jesse. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great week here. We'll talk to you later. See ya.
Bye. Kivy.